Am I the butthole my ex-fiancé tried to get my wife to cheat on me? I think my ex-fiancé Jess 31F might have tried to get my wife Olivia 30F drunk and cheat on me. My wife thinks I am overreacting and overthinking the whole situation. Can someone tell me if I would be in butthole to ask Olivia to stop being friends with Jess immediately? For context, Jess and I started dating during the sophomore year of our college. We met through mutual friends and connected instantly. She was charming and outgoing and made friends instantly everywhere she went. I am more shy and nerdy, but I enjoyed going out to parties with her. We got engaged on our graduation day as both our families were attending. I got a job in a big tech company right after college and Jess moved in with me while looking for jobs. That is when the relationship started going downhill. Jess was an art major and had trouble finding a stable job. She did a bunch of freelance work and mostly worked from home. I was overwhelmed with work. She always wanted to go out to bars and clubs and I wanted to rest in the evening after 10-12 hours of work. I was okay with her going out with friends alone, and I would sometimes tag along on the weekend. It bothered me that she was still in her party girl phase. She complained that I was becoming boring and should enjoy my early 20s before we settled down. I was also not happy with the friends she hung out with, as there was a lot of drinking and drug use. Even when I went out with her friends, she would be extremely flirty with guys in her friends group. Her excuse was always that she gets flirty when she is drunk or she was just joking. I had enough and decided to call off the engagement after 2 years as we were just different people at that point. The breakup was messy and she kept trying to get back with me for almost a year. There were some incidences where Jess may not have acted in her best judgment and I blocked her from all my social media. I did not want to deal with the drama and wanted to move on. I also got a transfer to another town around that time and never heard from Jess again. This is when I started dating my wife, Olivia. My wife was the exact opposite of Jess. She was very soft-spoken and a homebody like me. She knew I was engaged before. We dated for 3 years and happily married for 2 years now. However, one of the sticking points we always had was my Thursday nights. 3 of my closest college friends are now scattered all across the country and we generally play a video game together on Thursday evenings since our college days. Olivia complained that she gets bored during that time. About 6 months ago, Olivia told me she got a Facebook invite for a group where they had painting and wine nights on Thursdays. It was mostly 8-10 women who got together at someone's house and spent the evening painting, drinking wine and gossiping. According to Olivia, it was just a few housewives and divorcees, and they welcomed her. One of the women's name was Jess, but I did not think much of it. 2 weeks ago, Olivia told me it was Jess's birthday and they wanted to a ladies' night at a club. Olivia hates loud music, but Jess convinced her to come for dinner and some drinks. On that night, I got a call from Olivia at 10 p.m. asking me if I could come and pick her up. I could tell something was wrong and immediately left to pick her up. I went to the bar and went in to pick up Olivia. I was shocked when I realized that her friend Jess was my ex-fiancé. She also looked surprised to see me there. I was polite and said hello to everyone, but Olivia wanted to get out of there as soon as possible. After we went in the car, I told Olivia that Jess was my ex-fiancé whom I had not seen for almost 7 years. Olivia was shocked to hear it and she did not know about it. It was crazy since I did not even know she lived in the same city as us. Olivia told me Jess was the one who had started the painting group. She had divorced her husband 2 years ago and moved to our city for a fresh start. The reason why she called me was because she was getting uncomfortable with the situation at the bar. Since Jess and one of the other women were single, they kept on encouraging guys hitting on them and inviting them over to their table. Jess was trying to get everyone drunk and was asking Olivia to open up and have fun. She was constantly hyping up Olivia to 2 of the guys who bought them a round of drinks. At this point, Olivia excused herself to go to the restroom and called me to pick her up. I am not happy with the situation, but I am also not mad at Olivia. I am just uncomfortable with Olivia hanging out with Jess. I told Olivia about the same. Olivia told me that she was never going to put herself in the same situation again with Jess or anyone else. Also, this friends group is the only real social life she has since we both are in a completely new city. She does not want to stop going to her painting nights with her friends. I brought up the thought that Jess could be acting in malice, but Olivia told me she did not think Jess would know I was her husband, as Olivia never showed my picture to anyone in the group. She also said that it's been 7 years since we broke up. Jess is a kind person, and I should not judge her based on one night when she was drunk. She still wants to stay friends with Jess. On one hand, I do not want to separate Olivia from her friends. But my gut feeling is telling me something is off in this situation. Besides, it feels weird to have my ex be friends with my wife. Am I the butthole to want Olivia to stop being friends with Jess because of my gut feeling? Or should I just let it go as it's Olivia's call to make? Update. I posted about how my ex-fiancee tried to get my wife to cheat on me 3 months ago. Things were good since then, but last week has been crazy, and I wish my wife were not as naive to let Jess back in our lives. I really need help on what I can do at this point. For reference, I broke up with my ex-fiancee Jess 7 years ago and have been together with my wife for 5 years, married for 2. After the night of Jess's birthday, where she tried to get my wife drunk and flirt with strangers, I had a long conversation with my wife. I laid down why I was uncomfortable with her hanging out with Jess. My wife agreed with most of what I said, but she feels that enough time has passed now where we can let things go. She also talked to Jess, and she told her that she had no idea about me and it's just one happy coincidence. Jess also insisted to my wife that she moved on with her life after our breakup, found love, and unfortunately the marriage did not last. She told Olivia that maybe we all could go out for dinner together and clear out the issues. Jess also insisted that she was just having fun at the bar, and apologized to my wife if her drunk behavior made her uncomfortable. My wife asked me if I would be okay with their friendship, as she has not found a social group in the new town for a long time and Jess seems like a changed person. She also told me that she would only meet these women during her art night and not go out on girls' nights or trips. I felt that as long as Olivia was comfortable, I should not have any reason to be worried. We also had dinner with Jess once and Jess was very friendly. She told me about what happened in her marriage and how she is on her healing journey right now. She also apologized to me for her behavior during our last few months together. Jess also now owns a business and works as a freelance artist and graphic designer. I also was gracious as we were just 23 and I harbor no ill feelings. My wife also started hosting art night at our place once a month or so, and I had to move to my office for my game nights. Last week, after the art night, Jess and one other lady hung back, and we were all drinking wine and chatting. The other lady was asking questions about Jess and I. Jess told her that it was old history, and I went no contact with Jess for 4 years. That was the reason why she had no idea about Olivia. Olivia looked at me and asked Jess, "You mean 7 years ago, right?" Jess said no, and that was when we broke up. However, we met every time I came back to my hometown. I thought she was drunk, so I corrected her again that it was 7 years ago, and she was misremembering things. Jess said maybe, and we moved on. The next day, Jess sent a bunch of photos to my wife of me and Jess hanging out. They were just innocent photos like us having dinner, at a music festival, working out together, etc. The weirdest part was I had a few tattoos on my body that I got after I broke up with Jess. I also never owned the clothes the person in the photo was wearing. Even the photos were timestamped to 4 years ago, Christmas 2019. Olivia freaked out because we started dating in summer 2019. I did make a trip alone to my hometown in Christmas 2019. However, I never met Jess. She started asking me why I did not tell her about meeting Jess. I tried to tell her that these things never happened, but she does not believe me. She also called Jess and Jess told her that we met because I was back in town. However, we were just platonic at that point and it's not what my wife is thinking. I confronted Jess, and she told me that I am stupid to not tell Olivia about meeting her, and also not telling her about Olivia. She says that I told her I am still single. Olivia is very angry at me. She is not believing a word I am saying. I kept on telling her that I have not seen her for 7 years. Olivia says she does not mind me meeting her, but I should have told her as we were together. I volunteered to show her all my phone records during that time, but they only go back to 3 years on my carrier. I am confused how those photos can even exist when I never met her. They are definitely photos from when I was with Olivia, as I look more muscular in these pictures and also have tattoos that I did not have back then. I even told her she can call my friends and family and ask them about the trip, but she says that she has all the photos of my trip and my friends and family will cover for me. Can someone please help me what I can do in this case? I need to convince Olivia that this is all false, but she is just angry at me and giving me silent treatment. I swear that I did not meet Jess during that trip and am caught up in this mess without my fault. Next story. Am I the butthole for getting mad at my friends for having sex beside me while I was asleep? My friends and I 25F were on a getaway to the mountains and had rented a house for our stay. After a long day, we returned back to the house, relaxed, had our dinner, and divided all the rooms amongst ourselves. I was sharing the room with my friend 25F Nancy. All goes well. We turn the lights off and I'm asleep before I know it. I was so tired. In the middle of the night, I am awakened by an earthquake, or so I thought. The bed is moving and peculiar noises seem to be coming from behind me. I turn around and lo and behold, my very 2 naked friends are going at it right beside me. I literally jumped out of the bed. They tried to cover up as fast as they could, but I had already seen things I'll never forget. I was seeing red lol. It triggered a crappy memory from my childhood where I had been in a very similar situation, but with my parents. I yelled at them and straight up started insulting both of them, and I said pretty mean stuff. I then dashed out of the room and spent the night on the couch in the cold. The next morning, my other friend who found me on the couch asked me about what happened and that she heard me yelling last night. I told her the whole story and for some reason, she found it funny. When everyone else found out about what happened, they started laughing and making jokes, which I didn't mind since it lightened the mood a little. Nancy and the guy Rick soon came out of the room as well. Everyone told me to just forget about it and enjoy the rest of the trip. But Nancy told me that I was way too rude for something so silly. Rick didn't say much. He looked kind of embarrassed of the whole thing. I told Nancy that they could have woke me up and asked me to leave if they were so horny, and that I had every right to be mad because you don't start banging on a bed where someone is literally sleeping. Nancy said that I was overreacting, and it was not that deep. I was annoyed and pissed, and told her to stay away from me for the rest of the trip since we were all there to enjoy. Now that we're back, Nancy refuses to talk to me and is adamant in saying that I was the one who was at fault and is being a pain in my butt in general. She's calling me a virgin, which I am, and claiming that I'm just jealous that she is more desirable than me. She said all this to my face in private, so no one in the group knows. Everyone in the friend group thinks that I should just let it go and reconcile with Nancy and Rick, but Nancy keeps putting all the blame on me and it's getting on my nerve now. So, am I the butthole? Update. Someone asked me to update, so here you go. I don't think they'll let me update on the sub, so I'll just put it here for anyone who's interested. Turns out Nancy and Rick were using me to fulfill some weird sex fantasy and the whole group was in on it. They all knew that Rick and Nancy were planning on doing something like this, and they both did it with me particularly because I'm waiting for marriage to have sex and am still a virgin. I've been an inside joke in the friend group for God knows how long, and I had no idea that they thought of me like that. They think just because I'm waiting for marriage, I'm a loser who can't get anybody to sleep with me, as if I'm not a sane adult who can make her own choices regarding her own damn body. 2 people in the group had done this exact same thing with another girl, but that girl had laughed it off, so they saw nothing wrong with it. They just thought it would be so funny to prank me like that. A guy in the same group told me all this privately after I shared the link of the original post in our group chat. He said that he would have told me on the trip itself, but he got pressured into staying quiet because it will ruin the fun. I'm truly disgusted. Rick did apologize, but I haven't heard from Nancy. The others who were laughing said they didn't think it would be a big deal and wouldn't have participated if they knew it would make me uncomfortable. They don't know that I know about all the jokes they make on me behind my back. And all the apologies came only after I shared the post and made them read what the comments were saying. I have decided to ghost them altogether. I'd rather have no friends than associate myself with a bunch of judgmental idiots who act like 16-year-olds. I also wanted to clarify that the childhood memory I had mentioned wasn't abusive. My parents were doing it beside me thinking I was asleep, but I woke up from the noises they were making. The room was dark, I didn't see anything except their silhouettes, and they never realized that I was awake. Thank you to everyone who showed their support and gave advice. Next story. I ruined my wife's life. I am 43, try to do my best to provide for my wife F38 and 2 kids 3 and 5 as well as my mill, and would like to think I am doing a decent job. Over the years, I worked to improve our family's living situation. Not only did I complete another bachelor's and recently master's in a STEM-related degree, I at the same time worked 2 full-time jobs while completing my second bachelor's and put my wife through school as well. She completed a degree where she could make good money 60-70 Ker in a healthcare field that always has jobs available. But with the birth of our 2 kids, she has since gave up on her career to be a stay-at-home mom. For the time being, at first it was a struggle while I was finishing up my master's. Once I completed it, after our youngest turned 3, my career took a jump up, and we are now able to afford our single-income household in a more feasible manner. We're far from rich, but do okay for a single-income family of 4, a little north of 150K base plus bonuses. The past year life was overwhelming per my wife, so even though I now work 75% from home, I budgeted to hire a daytime nanny to help her around the house with 1 child, while the other is in school now. My day starts every day around 5:36 a.m. I get the house ready for the day before the nanny comes at 8 a.m. I get our oldest up and ready for school, breakfast made, and plan out my day, bring our oldest to drop off, and be home in time to let the nanny in. My most recent task at work has me grounded for the next 2 months, meaning I am now 100% work from home. While this is nice, I am busy in meetings all day as my role manages teams on a global scale as I oversee projects from my industry. For the past 1 month, I realized my wife, as much as she says her life is stressful at home, starts at 10 a.m. I asked my mill and nanny if this was always the case after a week or so of work from home, and they both responded more or less. Sometimes earlier, sometimes later. My wife literally wakes up and cooks and then scrolls through her phone or shops from home, which brings me to my gripe. I am glad I am able to provide her that sort of life since we both grew up lacking in means. I get the possibility of postpartum depression, the stress of having kids, the feeling of being unfulfilled, the fact that I probably am a crappy husband, but for what it's worth, everything is taken care of and then some. I manage the house's finances. She claimed she was too busy to do so. Pay all the household bills. I pay my own personal bills. I pay her bills. Track and perform all the upkeep of our house appliances Karspitsetk. And I also help pay for my mill's medical bills and car note. But apparently my life is on easy street compared to hers. I can't decompress to her because it seems like she always feels the need to one-up me. I had a bad day, but she had it worse cause I'm lucky I got to go away and work. My feet hurt from walking all day during work travel, which is nothing compared to her standing and cooking with a child clinging to her. For the past 2 or so years, I've been told I ruined her life, her opportunities, etc. But when I reminded her of what she says, she denies and dodges accountability. My mill has brought me aside and stated she's noticed a change in both myself and my wife. I have a greater attachment to my kids and hell, I've hugged the dogs and talked to them more about my life than to my wife. I honestly feel like I am in emotional survival mode as I'm one step from moving up the career ladder and one step away from finding love and comfort from the bottom of a whiskey bottle. I'm sure I'll be hearing from the manly men of Reddit about how I'm simping, but I'm not a machine. I just want to know and feel that someone I prioritize aside from my kids appreciates and loves me for what I do. I'm sure I'll hear from the stay-at-home moms of Reddit, which is fine. I grew up in a single-parent mother household. It's not easy, and honestly, with the help of her mother and a nanny mon fry, for one toddler while another child is at school. Can you honestly tell me she's having the typical Psalm experience? Because neither my friends or colleagues who are single parents can say she is. I'm sure the masses of holier-than-thou Redditors will consider this a poorly written fanfic, but it is what it is. TLDR, long story short, it feels as if my wife has checked out of our marriage. We're only roommates where she can still reap the marriage benefits. I'm not asking for her to throw herself at me all the time and let me do whatever I want. I really just want to be told I'm doing good and just offer me some form of emotional comfort as simple as a hug. But I guess as the man who ruined her life, I deserve it. Thank you for the replies. To add more context. Never cheated. I do work in an industry that has a large female population, but I'm literally an open book with work. Name colleagues and staff under me. She has access to my work agendas and correspondence if she really wanted to snoop. But on that note, she still doesn't know what exactly I do for a living at this time. We as whole family, her parents and mine, have tried to get her to go to therapy, but she refuses or skirts around the issue. Aside from my coming from a single mother household purse, my biological dad was present in my life. She has had both parents in a reportedly monogamous marriage for over 40 years. I have tried to talk to her about everything and my own feelings, but again, one-upmanship tends to be the trend here. What I am getting out of the marriage was asked. Now, aside from my 2 beautiful kids, I've been asking myself that same question. We have a near non-existent sex life mainly since last year. I always figured maybe it's part of depression or whatever she may be going through. Maybe I'm just not attractive enough or just horrible in bed because of my health conditions. I'm not some supermodel husband, but temptation and opportunity does knock and I can perform still, but I never give in. Because as cliche as it sounds, I honestly do love my wife and want to only be with her. I'll give credit where credit is due, as I don't want to sound biased. When I say she wakes up and cooks, she cooks for everyone in the house. Myself, kids, Mill, and even Nanny. Aside from breakfast, she cooks all meals and snacks. I typically fast until lunchtime, and our oldest tends to eat a small, simple breakfast in case they don't like what school serves that morning. She does load both the kids and her laundry, but seldomly folds and puts them up. I typically do my own, and the rest of my clothes I dry clean because they're work clothes. She does keep track of our pantry and fridge, but after she makes the list, I'm the one who goes out and buys everything if not delivered. She does clean our bathrooms and house 50% of the time. The other 50% is done by either Mill or myself, or sometime Nanny if she feels like being extra helpful. Prior to Nanny, my Mill was the main help for my wife up until she had unexpected medical needs. So I opted to hire a nanny to help them both, more so when Mill is having treatments and recovering. Update. Not sure if anyone would read this, but thank you for those who have reached out and chit-chatted. While I know I've kept my newfound friends here updated, I figured I'd just update my post and keep it short. I showed my wife my post the following weekend, and she read it and all the comments. Long story short, argument, she left our house to stay with her sister, and I've been a single parent since. It's sad to say, aside from the good nights to our kids, it's all pretty much the same routine. Nothing much else to say other than thank you for all the kind words of encouragement. Just need to add, this post got bigger than I expected from a venting post, but I've responded to a few comments. Nonetheless, Thank you for the comments and DMs and more so for the offers to let me ruin your life hat. It's been the highlight of my day night as I sit here drinking with my dog while everyone else is asleep. It feels depressingly sad that I feel that I have to turn to random internet strangers for some sort of validation in my rant. My apologies in advance as I try to keep this as vague as possible. Update 2. I just wanted to update those who have been kind enough to check up via DM and comments. Apologies in advance for the lengthy post. It's a bit of irony and coincidence that I made a follow-up from the update on 06 May 2024 I made on my original post during Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, but I could really use another outlet outside of my therapist. My apologies if this isn't the storybook ending destroying of a relationship people were hoping for. To save you a read. Wife left. Came back like nothing happened. She made it about her. Nothing's changed. I'm continuing to be suffering mentally knowing nothing will change while trying to keep it together for our kids. Lots of takeout. The day after she packed up and left, my wife attempted to come back and take the kids with her to her sister's. Naturally, I was against this, and thankfully so was her whole family including said sister. Not only was it not fair to our kids for her to sweep them away into a home that's not theirs, but to put that financial and housing stress on the rest of her family since she doesn't work and her sister and her family husband and 3 kids stays with their dad in the house they grew up in. After a little over a week of being away, I guess she cooled off, so she just decided that it would be fine if she walked in the door with her bags, as if she just came back from Target. She came into my office while I was working and angrily stared at me while I sat on a conference call meeting with my team, and I couldn't just jump off as this is a busy time of the quarter for us. I guess that didn't sit well with her because once I took off my headset and closed my laptop, she started yelling at me about how much I really don't care about her and her well-being overall. At that moment, I couldn't do anything more than look at her and just shake my head. Mother-in-law came in after hearing my wife yelling and pulled her away, telling her to not bother me, while our nanny kept our youngest away from it, all on the other side of the house. That night, after the kids were put to bed, I sat in my office by myself with a drink as I have been doing for the past nights, and my wife came in. We talked. We argued. We cried. We drank. One thing led to another, and we were in bed. I wish I could say that was our making up, but the next sobering morning as we laid there, she went on about how hard it was for her the time she was gone. Literally, it was about her struggles staying at her family house in her old room with her dad and sister's family. How lucky I am to be able to stay here and do this and that and buy this or do that and not stress as much as they did. How easy my and everyone else's in our family lives are compared to hers, even though we had similar upbringings. My mind and heart broke that morning. I've been spiraling down since then, and this last week I made another attempt to reconcile and talk things out. But I was met with a shouting match while trying to express my current stress and anxieties with life and work in general. Wife: well, do you know how hard this is all for me? You're supposed to help me be happy. Me: so when it comes to my happiness, stress, needs, and overall well-being, FK me get over it, right? Wife: we all have our own problems. You need to figure it out and get over them. I don't know who the woman I am at home with is, but that wasn't the woman I married and vowed to spend my life with and raise our kids together. Since that conversation, I've been noticeably distant with her. I've been sleeping in my office or on the couch or with my kids in their bed after putting either one of them to sleep. Still doesn't change her starting her day at 10 a.m. and sitting on her phone talking to her mom groups between cooking meals with the kids in both mother-in-law and nanny's care. Nothing has changed, and I doubt that anything will change. Sadly, I think even if we got a divorce, nothing would change or feel different anyway, since during my wife's leaving the days seemed like any other day, except with a little more takeout than usual. My main fear there isn't that I wouldn't just lose my wife. I'd lose my kids in the process. So I guess it's sad to say the grand finale to my story with, like a lot of men and some women I've talked to here, I'll just continue to smile and suffer in silence. I hope you guys like this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share, and subscribe the channel James Stories.